All right, let's go. Okay, everybody, welcome to this podcast episode. And today I have a treat for you. She is an awesome friend of mine. Her name is Amber, and she is someone that when you meet her, you know she holds codes. You know she's different. You know she's special. She is an industrial engineer, but don't let that just fool you and put her in a box because she's also a human design expert. She's also a Reiki healer. She's also someone that can manifest anything she wants, anytime she wants. She is somebody that I have seen her take something in her life and deconstruct it and rebuild it back up again the right way, the better way. And to me, she is a miracle worker. I love her so much. And you have today the pleasure of hearing from her. And I have some questions for her. And yeah, take the floor, Amber. Hi.
Wow. The Maisie, I love you so much. And that was one hell of a intro. I'm honored to be here. You know, you're one of my close friends. And we've been on this ride for we've known each other for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
Probably going on like five, almost five. You know, we
yeah.
like met each other like right after we were going through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, which was such a catalyst time for me
Yeah.
and let's just get right into it. I just want to say, like, when everybody was running inside and the during the pandemic, I was like, I'm outside. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this. Everybody's scared, but I'm not. I've been preparing for this. Let's do what we came here to do.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think that's like such an amazing segue. And I'm ready to like dig in and talk about
Yeah.
all the things.
One of the things that attracted me to you is that you're fucking funny. You're hilarious. You're a character. And you really don't, you are really deep and at the same time you don't really care what people think of you. So you'll go really deep into soul work and healing and understanding, and you're always looking to understand more and to read more books and to learn more, and you're humble in that way. But also you don't really get intimidated by anybody. You don't care what anybody thinks. You have forged your own way. I remember us being in the coaching world on Facebook back in those years. It was intense. And there was a lot going on, and you did not follow that path that much. You just like, no, this is not for me. I don't want to do it like this. I want to do it like this. And I have seen you go from what people try to tell us to do in the coaching industry, how to act, how to post, and all this shit, to doing it your way. And you're so funny and so free that that's what attracts people to you.
And you know something, I was walking my dog this morning and I said to myself, I trigger the hell out of people.
Yeah.
And now I love it and embrace it. Because it's like, if I trigger you to ask yourself, why does she get to be so free and why can't I? When in all actuality, you do get to choose to be this way. I choose to be about it. It's my lineage,
Yeah.
being a Black Native American woman, you know, those indigenous roots, someone who is Muskogee Creek Indian, where in our tribes, there's root workers, there's medicine women, there's medicine men. We don't do powwows, we do turtle shells, and we walk around and we do shells. And we came on that trail from like Georgia. You have so much African ancestry roots there. So it's like, I think going through that whole thing of like coaching and doing a lot of the work that I was doing with people, and they were like, I just don't get you. And I'm like, you don't have to get me. I mean, shoot, sometimes I don't get me. And I was just like, I'm just grateful that I am me. And I've always just had this thing of trying to understand why things happen the way they do. And I think we can get into that, especially as a little girl.
Yeah.
I know when I was 5, I knew I came here to do something big, right? I always knew that. But when my mother had my brother died at like 2, 3 months, right? And she was just said that I was just calling for him after he died. But I remember that at a young age, that spiraled me into a path like, God, why would you take my brother? Like, why would you do that to my family? You know? And for someone as young as I was, I think also being born into Roman Catholic family and sitting in church, and I'm just like, I just don't understand. Like, why would you take my brother from me? Like, why is he not here? That really also spiraled me into like, I got to figure out what, like, why are these things happening? And how do I accept death? And how do I accept all the things?
That's
So,
so deep. That is so deep and powerful.
mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's when you started realizing that you could manifest things, or how old, if you can remember, how old were you?
You know, and I'm gonna tie this into also human design.
Yes.
And so people can know if you're, I know anybody's watching this, they have dibble dabble
Yes.
or dilly dally. That's the word, dilly dallied in human design or astrology or anything. So just to give you like a context, I'm a 4/6 emotional projector. I'm also a life path 9, so I'm an old soul. I'm also a Gemini
Yes.
with a moon and a Pisces rising
Oh my
and
goodness.
a Libra stellium. Okay, so guys, like it's so much going on in there. And you were asking, I'm getting back to the frame of what you were asking me the
Like,
question.
how old were you when you started realizing?
Manifestation.
Yeah.
I always have been someone who knew what I want so I could see what it looked like.
Yeah.
Just knowing at 5, I wanted to be the successful businesswoman. I wanted to be a wife. I wanted to have children. I wanted all these things. I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I knew I wanted to be in STEM.
Mm.
That laid the foundation of me understanding, okay, what do I need to do to get to where I want to go? And I think when I was younger and I was even more freer, you know, I was I was born into this family that really kind of made a pathway, and that's my word I've been using a lot lately. Pathway
Yes.
that kind of like groomed me on that transition. I was born into a family that were small business owners and a very spiritual family. My father's very spiritual, you know. He's religious, but he's very spiritual. And I mean, like when you have somebody, but my dad is very spiritual. And I think also my dad does not think about money in in ways other people do. He just knows he's gonna have it.
I love it. Yeah, and that is the
But my mom's a little bit different.
right.
My dad's just like, it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna worry about it. It always works out for me. And he be in his own world, right?
Nice.
And my dad used to always say to me, he was like, I'm not the smartest dude. He's like, I could study harder than anybody. I could work harder than anybody, you know? And you hear that, and then you hear your mom like, Amber, we're a for-profit business. So it's like you had all these things in my parents, just their foundation and their structure really also cultivated me as a person, you
Yeah,
know, to be
absolutely.
solid.
It's almost like you had the right and the left brains. Your mom saying, we're for profit business. We have to do it this way. That's the left. And then the right is like, I'm free. I know it's coming. I'm gonna receive it. Kind of like the feminine, like I know it's coming. It's done. It's already been done. It's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a perfect balance.
And also having that support of family, because my dad, his parents were just very supportive of him. And,
Love it.
you know, he was like, all of y'all gonna be doctors. That's not what my dad really wanted to do. My dad wanted to be a pro golfer, but my grandfather was like, you guys are all gonna be either doctors or dentists. And I mean, that's that generation he
Yeah,
came
that
from.
generation did that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The
So
generation
yeah,
before the baby boomers did that. Yes.
yes. But also I started journaling at 13.
Wow. Wow. You are a
So
cool soul. You
yeah, I started journaling at 13. And my mom also, I was really active in everything. You know, I grew up playing golf. I played all the sports. I was in ballet. I was in jazz. I was dance. My mom put me one summer in acting classes.
mm.
And I remember I had this one dream. I said, I'm going to be a supermodel.
I
And
know.
I was like, and you know, to my see, I'm 5'4", but I've always been very petite and slim. Even back then, I was really, really, really slim. And I was like, I'm going to be like Kate Moss. And so I just remember okay, mom, take me to this thing. She took me to this thing. I got picked up, except I ended up not doing it. And then I was just like, anything I want to do, I can do.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it just kind of just started building off of that. And I also feel like under 18, I was even more freer. I
Yeah.
was even more, I think also, I was also so like in a bubble from my family when I got to high school and the guys started seeing me.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was another thing with like men. They were just like drawn to me like crazy. And the girls were just mad at me. And so I think also in high school, I was like, I was so used to not being disliked for just being me. Cause I'm like, I'm not worried about these dudes. We're just
Right.
having fun. Let's hit the pool. Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing? I'm
Right.
going to the mall.
It's the way that you were raised. Because I remember when I met you and I introduced you to new concepts, or maybe they weren't new, but I don't know if you had heard them before or not, but at that moment you're like, wow, wow, thank you for saying that. And I've never had any pushback from you. You've always been a good learner and a good with an open mind of like, okay, I'm gonna try that. Oh my God, this is working. And you've given me things that I'm like, oh my God, thank you. That is working for me now. So I think it's a blessing that you were raised by those two parents because and I'm sure that their grandparents as well helped because you didn't have to go deep and heal a bunch of belief systems that were saying you're not worthy, you don't deserve any money, you're always going to be broke. You didn't have to heal any of that. A lot of us start with that, -0, and we have to heal the whole like I'm always going to be broke, I'm always going to struggle, whatever, right? I'm not worthy. You didn't have to go through that, or did you? A little bit.
Threw myself into that lesson though.
Okay.
I when I got to my 20s, and then I have a son. When I had my son, and I came back home, and I decided I was going to put my dreams to the side, focus on being a mother. And
Yeah.
then I came back home, and I had my son. I worked for my parents. I've always worked off and on for my parents since I was 14. And so, but I'm grateful and blessed that I could come back home and have a job. Even though my mom didn't want me to do that, in her mind, she's like, that's not what I wanted you to do. But it was more important for me to create a stable system for my son. And my dad used to, I don't talk about this all the time, but when I came back home, my dad would just be like, come to me, here's 1,000, here's 2,000, put it up, 4,000. My dad would just give me money, right? I mean, he always gave me money, but he would just give me money. So it was like, at that point in that time, I was like just living. I was just like, man, I'm gonna go buy me some shoes. And of course, I love designer, all the things. So I was buying all the things. But at the same time, I was telling my dad, Dad, I want to start this business. I want to really help my tribe. I work with my tribe now, but I was like, I really want to support my tribe. Let's figure this out. I want to open a gas station. So I was already thinking in that infrastructure mind, but at the same time, I was like, let me focus on this. So he's giving me money, and I was really kind of irresponsible with money because once again, it was always coming to me.
Right.
And once I found out, I went through a series of things that really catapulted me into my spiritual awakening. One, I started suffering with gut issues.
Okay.
I was going to my doctor. She was like, just eat an apple. Eat apples, lady. Like, what? My grandmother was battling cancer. She battled cancer like 4 times. She ended up passing 2009. Found out my son was on the autism spectrum. I went through a crazy breakup. That was the thing that catapulted me of being split from my true authentic self and trying to please a man to make him want to continue to love me.
Yes.
All those things were happening in the midst. My grandmother died. Me and my boyfriend broke up. Then he's like wanting to be back with me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be with you. Then another ex came back. And then my best friend called me and was like, hey, girl, why don't you just come move to Cali? And I'm like, what? I was like, I ain't been to Cali in forever. I literally planned it out, packed up all my shit, because we can say that on here.
Yes.
Sold stuff. And me and my mom drove to LA. And I moved to LA with like $1,000 to
I love
try
it.
to go. I moved to LA not to go in Hollywood, not to, I moved to LA to get clarity. Most people go to chase their dreams. I moved to California to get clarity. Like I moved there to get back to Amber.
Yes.
And it was the best thing I ever did. And that whole 5 years I was there, that's when God really started putting me through so many lessons, which I'm learning in the human design. It was me going on top of I'm still on the roof and learning that all of my connections and things come through network, through friendships. It's all about me making sure I'm aligned with the right people. And then, I'm such a giving, generous person.
Yes.
I've gone through lessons. I think now that I'm in my 40s and in these past 2 years, I'm like, no, I'm like, I can see it. I can see it ahead of me now. And I'm just like, yeah, that's just not going to work. I can't align with that person. And I
Right.
just can't allow them to be part of my world. Even though
Right.
they seem really cool and nice, I can already see what can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you have learned a lesson. Otherwise, you would stay in
Mhm.
the loop for
Yeah.
for the rest. Some people stay in a loop for the rest of their lives. I have no idea why, but some people are just not meant to learn to actually learn.
Hmm.
So, what do you do now? And I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest thing you've manifested? But I want to know, and I want everyone to know, what do you do now currently for?
Okay, so I am an engineer by trade, industrial. I'm in the construction industry, so I have an architectural engineering construction firm. So I am a native woman-owned design, engineering, construction management firm. We provide solutions to tribal nations, the federal government, and private sector. So
That,
that's what we do. And people are always like, what does that mean? I'm like, anything, we're really moving into like the design build, but I'm in the commercial space. So anything city, government, commercialized buildings, duplexes. Um, I started off doing a lot of residential things and doing some interior design,
I
but
remember, yeah.
but I know this is a really big pivot in my story. I was out in Miami 2019, had on this dress. And I was sitting there and I felt the shift. And I said, okay, I'm going to really go back to school and be an engineer. And everybody's like, you didn't have to do that. And when I think about it, in 2014, when I graduated, I said to myself, I'm going to go back to science one time, or I don't know when it will happen. There was so many events that ended up leading me back into STEM. But on the course of that, I had worked in construction before, and I was always enamored by infrastructure and the big boy stuff and roads and transportation.
Wow.
And I also look at this from a spiritual place of being the guardians of the land, the stewards of land, and building new worlds. And where we're going now is we're building a new world. And some people are like, that just sounds far fetched. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. And you and I, we talk so much about AI and what it is, and it's a mirror and it's a tool. And if you use it properly, it saves times. It helps you, it's helping people to create leaner businesses with
Yes.
less people and faster output.
Yes.
So that's where we're going. And I'm really, really interested in smart cities.
Mm.
And
I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna ask.
yeah, I'm really, really interested in smart cities. And I really got interested in it about 3 years ago. And so I want us, and I'm claiming this right now, and I've been claiming it, that we will be one of the leading firms in the globe, globally, that people come to for smart cities, innovation, and understanding. And
I
when
see
I just
it.
think, I'm sorry, I was like, when I think about how I got here, and I was saying this the other day, it has been through choice, intention, and divine strategy. Um, and I think that's like so important, where people don't understand that becoming this next level becoming your next level self is very much an identity shift. And I really want to bring it back to you because since our friendship and we talk about different ways of, I know we're both very spiritual people, but we also have that Roman Catholic religious background too, or just even just religion background, and understanding that these things, have a crossover, they overlap so much, on what we're doing. And I really wanted to talk about, I'm going to turn it back to you, but I really want to talk about as far as manifestation and my approach to it now.
Yes. Also, you are doing that in your own life by restructuring, reframing your world. And we call it a matrix because that's just a name we gave it, but everything is energy and you have understood this. And so, and I see you as someone also you can transform your matrix and the matrix of everybody around you. And now I see you doing it globally, where you're just going to redo this whole planet in that way, and it starts spiritually, starts with the words and the thoughts and your intention, like you were saying, and then it goes into the physical.
It's very spiritual, I think. And I've been really taking a step back and looking at these structures, these ecosystems of how we work for the last 5 years. And especially in engineering, there's like so many engineers, especially even women, that are leaving the field because they're having an awakening around how they want to work. And I think, you're going to use 20% of your life skills and figuring out problems. Now, when you're building things, there's the theories that you have to use, coming to the conclusion or coming to a recommendation, you have something that backs that, because we're in this place that has compliance and everything.
Right.
This place of building a new world and transforming. You have to be tapped into this creativity, the imagination. And a lot of engineers do not have that. And if you meet a lot of men who are engineering or just women, they're so wound tight.
Yes.
And then they meet me. And I'm like, do you guys know that engineers are magicians? Every time I say that, they're like, the girls are like, so skeptical. And I'm like, girl, I tell the women, I'm like, you have my teacher taught me that engineering is feminine. It's a feminine principle.
Wow.
So you think about like the men, you meet a lot of men who are engineers. And if you date them, guys, this is a thing, like date male engineers, date them. They're amazing. They're very in touch with their feminine side because it's a very intuitive discipline, methodologies.
Wow. I thought the opposite. I thought they were very much in their mind.
They're in that intuition.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I mean, let's back and sit there and look at some of this stuff. Because if I would go back, I would be a civil engineer. But it's the only way I can justify why these men can give me things and I can figure it out, because I'm working with divine intuition of understanding. I mean, that's just what that's my blueprint. That's what my codes were, Right. And I think that a lot of women don't embrace that because a lot of women are wanting to fit into a male's bubble.
Yes.
And I'm not fitting into nobody's male bubble. I'm coming in with my high heels on and my skirts and my diamond earrings with my red nails. And I'm like, hey guys, let's build.
Right.
The guys are like,
give me an example real quick of like what they can give you that you could use your intuition that I could understand, because I don't understand engineering, but
let's just say, especially in transportation, like I was talking to a CEO of a huge firm here, and I was asking him, we were just talking about the roads, and I was like, hey man, this is how I was like, when are they going to work on this road? He was like, I know it is a problem. I mean, people don't think about that. That's how I know that I came here to be an engineer, because and that's always been my mind. How can we make this better? How can we make it faster? How can we decrease? How can we increase safety? that is how my mind works.
And you're in Missouri right now, right?
In Kansas.
In Kansas. Okay.
That's how I think.
Yeah, that's what you're a genius too, though, because I mean, most people are just driving around completely unaware, complaining these fucking roads, but they're not they're not thinking, how can I fix it? You have a purpose. You have a huge purpose. So you would say to the man, hey, when are we gonna fix these roads? And they're like not thinking about it, but
It
then
was just like, I don't know when they're going to get to it, but he was like, that is a problem. I'm like, yeah, it's a big problem. I'm just not understanding why, I've been going on this road I've been driving since I was 16. And I'm like, why hasn't this thing been fixed? Do
yeah,
you know this would decrease? But I will let you know that in this world of construction, it's really policy based.
yeah,
So it's very political. And that's something that I've had to, because I'm the most serious person. Like I'm the most unserious person in a serious career.
yeah,
And I'm just like, man, I got to get in here and play this matrix game of politics. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to do,
right.
I mean, and it's nothing that's hidden. It's out there. And I want to say this to myself. This is what I love about the last 7 years. Yesterday Uranus just moved in Gemini.
Okay.
And it was in Taurus for like 7-8 years. And that Uranus was in Taurus, that was exposing all the dark secrets.
Okay.
And if you can see, we're just coming out of all these dark secrets. We got Weinstein, Epstein, Diddy, the government, and I think, if you're not really someone who questions the status quo or even tries to put things together, you wouldn't really think anything about it.
Right. People that are unaware of astrology also don't think anything about it. And then not only do you know astrology, but you also know human design. And I'd love to know what got you interested in taking classes and getting a degree or a certification in that. But you're adding more layers of depth to astrology with human design. So
Yeah,
you do your private sessions with that still, right? Because I remember having
I do still. It depends. It's special. It's special. If people come to me and I feel aligned with it, I will do sessions with people and, go in and do their chart and really kind of give them some guidance. I have one girl that I just did one last year and she turned 21 and her whole life's really unraveled. She was in a relationship with a guy for 2 years, living with him, and she wants to be a pop star. And she's actually on that road to that. And then I have another guy, it's like a 2-5 generator, easy breezy genius. And he's been just trying to figure out his way. And he's actually has got into this role. And I'm just actually watching him really explode and be his true authentic self. I don't need anybody to tell anybody that gave these little tidbits or guides or anything, but I love helping guide people back to the true authentic self. And that's what the projectors are here to do.
Yes.
We're here to guide people. Yes. And so I ended up discovering human design because when I moved back from California to home, I was, I had just I was launching the first part of my business, which was focused on children. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, I really need a coach. And whenever I say something like that's another thing, whenever I say, and I pause, how am I going to do this? What? And then I'll just go on, I'll be like, then I'll be scrolling on Facebook. And this girl came down and she was like, you need to find this. And I was like, click. And her name's Brianna Rose. And she was talking about Kundalini yoga. And she was talking about human design. I was like, girl, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I clicked on it and I found out I was projected. I was like, what does that mean?
Right.
And I was like, what is this Kundalini yoga? And I started doing it. And I remember reading, because that's one thing about me, I'll read.
Yes.
And I'll be like, what's going to happen if I do this? And they said, be careful when you start Kundalini yoga, because it's going to, like, your whole life will just fall apart. Clearly it did.
Oh, it did.
It clearly did. I just decided, I said I wasn't going back to school ever again. And I literally, one of my guy friends came to me and was like, hey, Amber, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I want to design children's furniture. And he was like, all right, I'm going to help you. Right? He's no longer here to this day. He's deceased. But literally, I went back to school and became an engineer. It was like the farthest from my mind. But
Wow.
was it really the farthest from my mind? Because I said I was going back to STEM in
Right.
2004. So was it really the farthest from my mind, or did I choose a pathway that literally tapped me on my shoulder and was like, hey, girly, remember what you said? Follow this. And as a projector, we're always open for invitations. And when you get into your place as a projector, the invitations start coming so fast, but it's up to you to discern what is the correct invitation for me. Right. And that's what it means to be an emotional projector, because we could take a day to make a decision. We could make 2 weeks. We could take a whole year. That decision was so blindly that day when I was in Miami in this dress.
Yes.
I was like, freak it. I'm going to do it. I'm going all the way in. And then 3 months later, we went into COVID and the whole entire world shut down. I had booked the ticket to go to India because I guess I was on my eat, pray, love, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And, and then literally the world stopped. And I was like, God, okay, I guess you're telling me I can't go to India right now. And I was like, I guess I'll just go back to work.
Very clearly, you could.
It was very clearly. I was like, no, literally, let me just how clear it was. I was talking to this guy. He calls me. He was like, I feel like you're trying to go out of the country. I was like, I know this. He was like, it's not safe. And then the next morning I woke up and they canceled my ticket.
Right.
Like, so it was quite clear. Yeah. And so then Circa 81 Design was born that summer. June 11th, 2020, I was like, this is what we're doing. And I was like, in order to build what I want to build, there's got to be a massive identity shift. And it really was me not even getting more closer with God, because I've always been close with God, but really, how do I hear God even more clearly?
So your identity was, you linked it to your intuition a lot and your clairaudience. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to talk about this because there's like a huge shift going on in the coaching industry, or just online period, where these women are leaving, I guess what you want to call it, new age, which I call it is like, I don't even really identify it as new age, being that, once again, I say this, I'm indigenous by lineage.
Yes, exactly.
You know? Exactly. So I don't look at it as new age,
the oldest thing ever. It's not new.
Yeah, it's not new. So I'm seeing all these women that I have, had tapped into, and now they're all becoming Christians and Catholic. It's quite, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's wild.
I'm on TikTok most of the time these days.
Okay. It's happening on Facebook, and it's happening on Facebook. I'm just seeing a lot of these women are shifting, and then they're putting down the new age community. And I'm just like, I think everybody has a right of how their pathway to the creator looks like.
Exactly.
And I think everybody needs to remember that all these religions and whatever, we're all one.
Yeah, of where they are spiritually, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not judging them. Everybody has their own path, their own walk. But I know for me personally, not one single time has my manifesting journey been not about God.
Exactly.
Now there's these pathways, and there's Orishas, and there are, we have Mary Magdalene, and we have these other divine feminines, which we cannot not acknowledge.
Right.
I've identified with them. But do I say they're the end all to the end all? No.
No.
They were just pathways and people, an energy, a code that I connected to. But everything has always been God or creator or whatever you want. And I think that people overthink and oversimplify things so much, and they have to have a label on it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I think it makes your life even more layered.
Yeah,
And
and
even more
complicated.
complicated,
Yeah, and stressful, because it is God the creator, and then it is us, and we are made in his image. That signifies it, but at the
That's
same
what it
time,
is.
that's it. Why do you have to label it and stress yourself out with this is wrong, this is right, and you're going to hell? And no, but again, each person goes with their level of
Yeah.
they are, and then maybe they'll leave the church again and do something else. Who knows? But I
Yeah.
didn't know that there was a movement of a bunch of them going back to
Yeah, it is like I just be on Facebook just watching. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Because it's like it's also it's also so many pointing the fingers like, okay, I get up at let's get into this. I read the Bible every day. My favorite chapter is Psalms.
Okay.
And you know what's also funny? Like last week, or what was it, about 2 weeks ago, I woke up and I was like praying and I said, okay, God, what chapter do you want me to open up? And it was Leviticus. And when I opened it up and I read Leviticus, and he was like, you should not be eating pork. And I mean, I know I had heard that before, but I was like, clearly, people, you guys talk about the Bible all the time, but it says eat pork, and I'm seeing y'all eating bacon all the time. So it's just like it's so many contradicting things with people.
Yeah. Well,
But
because they used Peter, the book of Peter at the end of the Bible, towards the end in the New Testament, where he says you can eat anything you want. And so now they do whatever they want. But maybe he wasn't talking about that. I mean, I'm not sure the context. I don't remember, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
they were talking about the uncleanliness of the pigs, and I'm not judging anybody. I mean, if you want to have a couple pieces of bacon, because sometimes lately I have been, this year.
I had some ribs the other day, man. They were so good. A full rack of ribs. I ate it all. Right there. I didn't bring anything home because I cleaned every bone of that rack of ribs. I just was
You know
crazy.
what? You're Cuban, so there's so many pork dishes, and like we're gonna have us a little swine, guys, and no, and I do not feel bad about it. Okay,
I
I don't.
almost spit the water on the computer. We're gonna have us a little swine, you guys.
Do you know what else I want us to dig into is, can we talk about this book you gave me? I wish
Yes,
I had it with me in front of me so we could show it. Can we
yes,
talk about this book, this lady you introduced me to,
yes. Her name is
who
Dr.
actually had already, I had watched a podcast that she was on
Yeah.
like 2 months before you introduced me to her.
Wow. So she was coming into your field already. Her name is Dr. Cindy Trim. I met her in person back in 2010. And then I did a whole full school of ministry that she did for a whole 7 or 8 days in person in Chicago. And she's been a big mother figure for me spiritually, and I have her phone number and everything. She's a wonderful person and very much she's in the Christian world, but she's the way that she spoke even back then, she was talking about quantum mechanics already, she and then the Christians talk bad about her because they don't get it because they're not there yet. But she was talking about manifestation and quantum mechanics and all of those the mysteries of the power of the word and how we literally are building or destroying things with our words, literally. And to that, I don't know how I added the golden light and how and I did this. I guess it was a remembrance maybe from another dimension or another lifetime or something, where I started visualizing my words coming out of my mouth as gold. So that book is called Commanding, oh, as gold.
Yes.
That book is called Commanding Your Morning. It is, I think, one of her very first books back in 2009, and it changed my life. I used to pray, and I was going through it back then because I had just moved to Milwaukee, and I remember having it in my hands and walking back and forth because as you walk, you also claim space. according to what she teaches. As you walk, you're claiming space in the universe, I guess. So I would walk and read it, and it completely, I mean, it opened doors that nobody could close in my life. So tell me what happened, because I know you bought it a few months ago.
Yeah. And I'm a huge person. I'm a huge meditator. I'm a huge prayer.
Yes.
A lot of her teachers are not foreign to me, but I think for me, whenever, especially when you introduce something to me, it brings me back to something that maybe I had tapped before, but I didn't continue with it.
Yes.
Or maybe now my awareness and my maturity was to the place where I could hold it and I could really run with it.
Yeah.
Because when we pray, we got to command, we got to declare it. And I had always did that, but not in this way from reading this book and not thinking in the way that she did. I always wrote down those words and always, one thing I have a word for each year and I calibrate to that word. Like this work, but June was a global, and actually also we're working on something in Africa. So I always saw myself, I love to travel, but for me in my mind is I want these countries to invite me because they want my advisory, they want my skill, they want my talent to come. And I want them to open their doors to me to come work in their country. Like that's how I've been seeing it. I love travel.
Infrastructure. You're talking about infrastructure and
Infrastructure or whatever, just my talents, advisory or just, entrepreneurship and all those things. I want these countries to invite me. I don't want to travel to them on my dime. That's
right.
not how I see it no more.
Right.
I want them to open their doors, fly me out there and be like, we want your talent. We want your work. Nobody can do what you do, Amber. We want you.
Right.
And that's just how I see it now. And that's the only way I'm declaring it, and it's actually unfolding now. It's actually unfolding now. I was introduced to some people back in December from Africa, and I was telling them what I was doing. I can't go too much into this project I have,
Right.
but the guy was like, and I can say this, and I'm going to say it clearly and loudly, because we're here and we understand the space and time. He was like, Amber, you are going to be a billionaire.
Yes.
And he was just like, you're going to be so crazy rich. And I was just like, looking like, yeah, man, I already know that. But thank you you're the first man ever to really confirm that, to see that. You've only known me for 5 minutes and you got that from me. And that was a confirmation. I'm like, at this point in my life, I'm like, just keep going. So when you came to me with that book and I'm like, it's time for me to pivot. It's time for me to step into a higher discipline of how I'm calling in things into my life. And I already have a set morning routine. Let's dive into this. And when I read that, I haven't finished reading all the book because I went straight to the back and started reading.
Right.
Cindy Trim says in the book, she would tell people when they were going through something so traumatic or they didn't understand it, she was like, just say, God, let there be light around the situation. And I was like, I haven't been saying that. But I already did the golden light. I picture when I wake up in the morning, I put a golden light around my son, around my dog, around me, around my family. I remember one time, a couple months ago, I sat 30 minutes and I was just crying and just gratefully just praying for every single person in my life. And it was like now, like when I say that prayer, and guys, listen to what Demaisi is trying to tell you about this. I can feel it flowing through my hands when I speak and hold and do this prayer that she has, because there's so much conviction, especially when she says, get out of my sphere of influence, get out of my house, where she's casting health problems out, and I'm even more calmer. It's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, I believe it. Absolutely.
It's crazy. I mean, I've always had divine miracles happen in my life. I think it's more or less that sometimes I'd be like, man, stuff is crazy. I just need you to show me another miracle so I can believe it again.
Right. Right. Well, this goes back to identity as well, because you were saying earlier that your identity had to do with your intuition, or you linked it to your intuition years ago. But this level of prayer where you're commanding also changes your identity. So if you're more calm and more centered and grounded and creative or whatever, it's because it's also changes your identity as a warrior or as a woman that can decree and declare, and it will be established. So
Yeah. And I have this one guy that, he cares so much about me. And he's in my sphere of influence, and he's an engineer, and he told me, he's like, he's older. He's like, Amber, he was like, you don't know your power. Like, he's like, I don't even think you know even more. I'm like, I know I'm powerful. And at this point, I don't think he knows that I know that. But he was just like, your presence, who you are, like, and he's native too. So it's just like, he was like, these men don't understand, like, how you, as a woman, like, you need to be protected and cherished and adored and
yeah,
appreciated.
yes,
And I'm telling you, like, especially in the spaces that we are now, and women, they want to be in relationships so bad. And I'm at the point now, I'm like, girl, I'm just like, I know who I have to marry or who I have to be with has to be so grounded
yes. Oh
and
my God.
so know that we came here to support one another, but understands my mission here on this earth, and knows that it's his duty to protect me.
Yes,
And that is so important. And you have to, like we've talked about, there's so much level of inner work that people have to do, and they're not willing to do that work. And I know, for me,
yeah,
when I do meet men who make a lot of money, because I meet men who make a lot of money all the
yeah,
time,
right.
I'm around a lot of businessmen. I'm in construction. Like, I'm around very wealthy men all the time. I shake these people to their core, because I become the mirror of the work they know they need to do, but they don't want to do.
Right. Oh, they're running. A lot of people are running, and they will numb themselves and distract themselves. They're an expert in numbing because they don't want to deal with it. And I don't judge it, because there was a point many years ago where I didn't want to see my
Yeah.
childhood trauma. I didn't want to see it. I knew something was in there. I knew, because you always kind of know, but your subconscious purposely hides it when you're a kid so that you can go to school next day, and live your life. But I remember running from it and being pushed by life, spiritual people, to sit down and shut the fuck up, put your phone away and look within. And I was like, no, 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 until I hired someone who pulled the first very big trauma out, and that unraveled a whole, I mean, it was very tough, because it's not like I did ayahuasca or anything yet. She actually was a specialist dedicated to this type of stuff. And she said, this is what happened when you were 4. Here it is. And from that moment, I'm like, first I denied it. No, there's no way, there's no way. And then all the memories came rushing back.
Mm,
And that was, I needed that. I needed somebody to do that, because I was so afraid to look. And then after that is when I did the medicine work and I started looking, and it's hard. And even for the people that I know that have done 10, 20, 30 ayahuascas, they're still not doing the integration work, because you could do the ayahuasca and see all your trauma and still not forgive and not really do the work. The work is in the forgiveness, in my opinion.
yes,
Anyway, in my opinion, the biggest part of the work is in forgiving yourself and
it
forgiving
sure is.
and forgiving
Hmm.
them. And then you go into reconstructing your identity, like you were talking about. I am not
Hmm.
that, I am this. And it shows in everything. It shows in your money, in the way you eat, in the way you prioritize your sleep, in how clean you are. If your fucking house is all messy and cluttery, all of that has to
Hmm.
do with identity, where you are at that moment, and what you believe about what you deserve. And that comes with time, obviously. But
Oh
these
my
guys
God,
that you're
it's,
talking about, like, you could be a multi-billionaire and still be avoiding the deep spiritual work, because money comes to people, money comes in different ways. To me, I receive more of it when I know that it's coming, when I really
yeah,
know that it's coming, and I'm
yeah.
I'm happy about it, like, and then it comes more. But for a lot of these men, it's just very structured and they're very intelligent and they're building the businesses from the masculine energy, and it comes in millions and billions. But that doesn't mean
Yes.
that they sat down and did their work.
Oh, it doesn't. It does not. I mean, oh God, we could have stories like crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I think, and oh my God, and I want to say I'm grateful that I can come into this space, this industry, this masculine structured industry, and I can look at it straight on. And I think, I talked to a young girl, she's now a mentee, and she asked me, Amber, how do you do this in a male dominant? I'm like, let me tell you, honey, there's always going to be challenges.
Right.
There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you because you're black, your skin tone, because you're pretty. It's always, you've got to find your tribe. You've got to find the people that are aligned with you, that are going to advocate for you, that are going to sponsor for you, that are going to speak up for you and want to see you win. People that want to see you win, help you win. And I'm telling you, I've had a lot of roadblocks being in this industry already, but I'd be like, you're not my person. And then I go find my person.
Next.
Like, and now it's to the point I'm like, I'll tell people like, okay, you just told me no, but I'm going to get a yes. And in the book that I'm reading, this book I'm reading called The Science of Scaling, he says in order to be like an elite leader, you must be an elite storyteller. And I think people get upset with people that are so confident. And then this is, okay, we're going to talk about it. This is why people really hate Donald Trump. One, he's a Gemini. So of course they don't like us.
Right.
But he is an elite storyteller. Don't shoot the messenger people. Right. He's an elite storyteller, and he's so definite in everything that he does that it's going to work out. And it's not a big deal. And that's the thing about I've learned with money. You can get $40,000 in your account, and you can win $1 million contract. It's all the same. And once you learn that it's all the same and you take the excitement out of it, man, money just starts and opportunities just keep happening,
Yes.
And I think now I'm getting a space where, especially knowing these energetic principles around money and understanding the energetic principles around people and understanding that you're not talking to the right person when it comes to money. Like, there is somebody waiting. Look at that lady who just made she worked for OpenAI. She just went and got $1 billion of funding. She doesn't even have an MVP. So MVP is a minimum valuable product.
Okay.
So she doesn't even have a product yet. And somebody gave her $1 billion to build something. Because she's an elite storyteller.
And her product is her story, I guess, right? Her imagination.
And people are just like, I don't understand. That's not fair. You're not doing the work. Right. And I'm not saying she's done all the work, but she knows her power.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, at this point, when it gets into business, you've got to go into, that's why you got to hit 10,000 shots before you get one. You got to be in the gym practicing every single day. You got to shoot off. Let me see if this person will give me 100,000. Let me see if this person will give me a job. Let me see if there are people out here literally stalking you and you don't even know it. And this is why I post almost every single day and I tell my story. Okay.
Absolutely.
The thing about it is that you really got to become an elite storyteller. And I think people I think people are scared to share. People are they're scared of being judged. And I don't care.
No, you don't. And that is so inspiring. I don't know that I'm an elite storyteller, but I'm working on it. I started this new podcast, and the first episode was about my story of how I came from Cuba. I don't know that I'm an elite storyteller, but I put emotion into it, and I even cried at the end, and I did not mean to. And yeah, I'm going to get better at it though, because I do have a lot of room for improvement in the way that I speak. But yes,
I think you're an excellent storyteller. And I listened to your first episode of you talking about, and I learned more about your voyage in your experience of coming to America. And I'm always just blown away because I'm like, man, could I do that? I mean, like, you literally got in a boat and came over here, like, got under. Guys, if you haven't listened to this first episode of Demaisi and her story, you have to listen to it. I know her personally, so I know a lot, but like, I was blown away. Like, that now Cuban, Mexican who came over here, people from South America, and it always floors me. I'm like, we live in a country where people are like, I hate it here. This is a terrible place. And you got people from Iran
Yeah.
that are fighting for their life to come here.
Yeah.
And you know what they're going to do? They'll like, I'm going to go back to school and get another degree just so I can come to America. And freaking become multimillionaires before we even become multimillionaires, because it's an opportunity. They see an opportunity in everything. And I think people really fail to see opportunity in every single thing that happens. Something bad happens to you, there's an opportunity in that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest manifestation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Americans are so used to everything because they were born in it that they don't realize what they have. And I always encourage them, why don't you go to Cuba? How about you go to Cuba and spend 2 weeks in Cuba? Even one day in Cuba will open your fucking eyes and like give you a religious experience, but because you'll be like, thank God that I don't live like this. But go to these countries and experience how it is over there so that you can come back and be grateful for your hot shower, your nice bed, and your spoiled life. And your spoiled life.
And
But
that is a part of, manifestation, being grateful
yes,
for what God's already give you now. And people can't even be, and I think I even talked to a friend with everything that's going on with California and just the immigration and stuff. And I don't really talk about these stuff, but I know this is a safe space, and
yeah,
and who's the best person to talk about it is you. And it's not that I'm not aware of it. And it's not that I am not, it doesn't break my heart. But if you take the time to go downhill because of what's happening to somebody, you lose momentum and focus on how you can change the world.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
And I know what I'm doing is bringing solutions for real world problems.
Yes, you
How
are.
you get to A and B. I can't afford to be totally invested in something when I'm trying to improve it in that area,
That's so deep. That's so deep.
And I think this morning I also, like, earlier before we got on the call, was just looking around. I was like, there's so many distractions. And I feel sorry for people who don't ever become so disciplined to understand how to navigate around distractions, and how you have to get so linear focused. You have to become so psychotic, like I feel I am sometimes, to get what you demand, we're not even going to say you deserve, what you demand, because you really don't get what you deserve in this world. You get what you demand. You get what you take. You get what you want.
Say
What
it
you go
louder.
after.
Say it louder
Yeah.
for the people in the back.
Yeah. You don't.
You don't get what you deserve. You get what you demand. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to put that on a big quote and tag you on social media. You don't get what
Oh, by the way, I heard that from somebody else, but yeah.
that's fine. I'm going to tag you because I heard it from you. But it's true, and it's and what you command. Like we could change demand for demand and command. You get what you command, not what you deserve, because we might deserve the world, but if you're sitting there losing momentum because you're distracted, or not even building momentum, or building momentum down spiral, like in a fucked up momentum. Oh, I'm in a fucked up momentum of eating chips and fried food, and I'm not going to the gym. Now you're building momentum all the way down instead of up. So if you're doing that, yeah, you're not gonna get what you deserve, because you're lost, you're gone, you're out of your body, you're not even in your body. So yeah.
And I think there's another thing. I learned so much from my mom too. And my mom's a 4-6 pure manifesting generator. And she's a Gemini too, but she has what does she have? She has some type of earth in her moon. I can't remember which one it is, and I see that very much, she's very practical in a sense, but you know, she's given me really a lot of insight and like with men, stuff that she wasn't telling me when I was younger. Because I though she was just trying to figure it out. My parents have been married for going on 45 years. Like, how do you do that? Like, you know, how do you like somebody like that long? And I know you can, but I'm like, my mom and dad are they're two different people, but they're really not. And they're both on the spectrum of type A. So they belong together. But my mom's like, you can't get caught up in men and their emotions. And I was just like, you're right. So like I've taken that in this world of working in a man's world. I'm like, I can't get caught up in him being, you know, he's having a bad day today. Just let him go off. And she's like, when you go off, men come back. She was like, stay in your world, focus on what you're doing. She was like, they'll come back. Just let them have their thing. And I was like, I'm like, you're right. And I think as for women, a lot of women get so caught up in emotional, which is okay, but go have that emotion by yourself. I think a lot of times, and I heard this lady say, men need to give you, men need to, what did she say about emotional something? I'm like, that's not a man's job. Ladies, that's not a man's job to manage your emotions and make you feel safe. That is not it's his job to protect you. Because women can be in a whole relationship with a man. He's protected, he's provided, but she does not feel emotionally safe in her body. Right. And she's looking for him to provide that for her. That's an inside thing. Yeah. And I think that a lot of women nowadays, you're asking things for men that's not what they're designed to do. And I think you don't understand what not even the hierarchy, the archetype of what a woman is and what the divine feminine is. This warrior. We're not saying that you're hard because there's that's a thing. There's a quiet strength that comes with being a soft woman. And there's such a movement out here of living a soft life. And to be honest, I feel like I really live the soft life.
Yeah, me too. I would say I live life.
We look soft, okay?
Yeah.
We don't look like what life's thrown at us, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. My skin, thank God, did not pick up all that bullshit. It's
okay. And so I think for women, especially going into a career where you're working with men, you really have to work on your identity. Like if I was taking everything personal, I wouldn't be excelling like I was in construction or working in these male spaces. I literally have told a man, hey, I got something that you probably want that you can't do, but I can. Do you want to team up together and get this money? Like I've literally
oh my God, I love it.
I've literally told men like, yo, let's get this money together. Like, what are you doing? Like, and then they're just like, why is it so easy? Because it can be that easy.
Because your identity is already like that. That's who you are. Would you say that women are making things mean something that it's all about what we make everything mean to us? So would you say that whatever they're saying, these men, when they get emotional or when they don't respond, because a lot of them are stonewallers, they just will stonewall you, not respond. Do you think that it affects women because they make it mean something about themselves that is not?
Yeah, because I don't really believe in ghosting anymore. I think that at this point, because those guys, even if you guys call it ghosting, they are still in my world or trying to be back in my world in some type of capacity. I think they didn't have an answer. They didn't know how to hold me, how to even support. We're going to use this feminine structure like I am here. And I think women should do the same thing. I told my best friend, I'm like, just disappear. Disappear. He doesn't disappear. Why are we getting mad? I used to do that when I was so immature. I would send all these long texts. I would blow up your phone. I'm not doing that. I don't have that type of energy.
No, and then
I'm trying to build.
You lose the momentum that you have.
You lose the momentum. I'm trying to build some roads. I'm trying to get some new contract with this place, with a city. I don't have time to be blowing up why this man didn't respond to me or why, you don't want me anymore. I'm not asking that.
Right. No, not at all. You're not even noticing it. You're too busy to notice. You love yourself too much to notice
it. But I think at this point, I'd be like, now I think at this point, because I knew I've always known that I'll get married later on in life.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, he wouldn't even fit into your dynamic that you got going on right now.
Yeah.
That's how I look at men. Like, I'm like, girl, how could he support you? He don't even have any resources. You got to look at that. Like, it's more than money with men. And I like, we so drifted into another, it all comes together.
Yeah.
But like, when it comes to men, it's like, they got to have solutions. They got to have resources. They got to have cash. You can have cash and have no resources. What are we going to do with you? Just cash? Like,
Right.
I need resources. I need solutions. I need somebody who can solve problems. I need somebody who's like, Amber, you're not looking at it this way. I'm like, oh my God, you're
Yeah.
a treasure. Like, And so I look at some of these guys and I'm just like, man, what I'm building and what I am doing right now, you don't even fit into that
Structure.
space, that
Right.
structure
Yeah.
to
I,
support it.
I agree.
And I would collapse if I allow you to
Yeah.
be in my ecosystem, in my space. And that goes with even a lot of people. I told my mom the other day, I was like, girl, I was like, somebody called me and I was like, girl, I don't have the bandwidth to talk to them. I only could talk to certain people. I could talk to you and a couple of my other close friends. And the other people I talk to are my mentors every week. If I
Yeah.
text them, if I call them, they're, what do you need, Amber? He's like, okay, I got this. Da, 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 da. You need this, 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 this. I don't have the space or the energy to even support anything that's not moving in the same trajectory as me. It doesn't have to be in construction, but in the same mind space,
Right.
you know?
They need to, for me, they need to be able to hold me when I'm speaking spiritually, when I'm speaking about my work. I cannot be with someone that is spacing out when I'm talking about my podcast, that he's not just completely not interested at all,
Mm-hmm.
or that he's not, you have to, for me to feel protected and safe, it's not only about the money and the provision, but it's about, are you interested in my mission? You don't have to do it with me. You don't have to start your own podcast, but are you interested in mine? Are you proud of me? Are you, not because I need it for validations, because I need it for a connection. Are you interested in my story? Does it make you turn your head and ask the next question, or does it make you interested in asking more questions about my story? That's what I desire from a man. Someone that can hold me
Mm-hmm.
deeply, deeply, deeply in every area, sexually, mentally, because I am a very intelligent Virgo woman, and you have to be an intelligent man to be with me.
Yes.
You have to be able to
Yes.
speak proper English. More languages, even better and welcomed, but you have to be able to speak proper English. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to, and I don't know, I know this episode is not about that, but since I'm saying it, I'm gonna say it. You have to be, have to know how to dress. You have to know how to eat and what to eat. You have to be interested in your own health, mental health,
Damn.
psychological health, and physical health. And you have to be therapized. Do not come to me with your fucking trauma. I
Amen.
can't do it anymore.
And the thing about it, I think it's like women have become even smarter. Back then in the 60s, women didn't have to think as much. So they didn't have to, they just needed to make sure a man was happy. It's different days now,
Yes.
and women are using, especially we get back onto years and centuries ago, and women in Egypt were leading and queens and everything. And then you have the natives and women's were chiefs and things like that. And then it kind of moved away from that. But women are coming with way more, and they're asking for way more. And I think as far as a lot of these men, they're not equipped with the correct tools.
Yes.
I've been making sure my son has been equipped with the right tools and really making sure that he's a builder and he's a hunter and he's a warrior and, he's courageous and he understands how to protect and provide. I mean, I'm not teaching this, somebody else teaching them, but understanding that, who you are as a man. And I think a lot of men nowadays, and they're picking up on so many feminine traits
Yes.
of needing to be validated. It's really interesting because, men are like, oh, my value is only because of money. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, men take care of families and provide. You guys keep asking for these things from women, and you can't even provide a solid structure for a woman to be even to show up in that.
Yes.
But you're upset that these women don't want to cook, they don't want to bear children. You're upset at that, but you don't make an environment for her to be conducive to
Yes.
even do that.
Yes. I agree.
And so we have such a disconnect out here in the world. And that's why I said there's so many distractions. And you've got to stay in your lane, and you've got to make sure that everybody that you're dealing with is your tribe. I'm just going to say that it's your tribe, because everybody out here is not for you. And it looks like there's so many guys out here, like I said, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of things going on. But when you get in there and you have a couple conversations with them, you're just like, yeah, this is not going to work.
No, absolutely.
You're not even looking to do the work.
Right. Yeah. And maybe 20 years ago, we would have been like, oh, I could help him. I could help. No, not anymore. Not, I'm not here to baby a man, or to be a therapist for a man, or to heal a man. I want to be met where I am. I have one last question for you. What would you say to a woman who does not know how to manifest? She knows she's done it here and there, but she doesn't know how to intentionally manifest something, and she really wants to have something in her mind, like an amount of money or something that she wants to do with her career or anything like that, but she doesn't know where to start. What would you say to her?
Okay. I think that if you're wanting to design this life and a career, you need to, what do you envision your life to be like? And you must reverse engineer it. Because I think we talked about this as engineering your own life. You've got to reverse engineering. I think people don't know what they want.
Right. So
That's the
know what you
first
want.
problem.
Know what you want. Know
Know what you want. Know what it's going to look like. The path to get there, you won't know that. But you've got to identify what it is you want. What do you want to feel like? And I think you shouldn't attach it to amount of money, because I don't think you should attach to an amount of money, because then you start capping yourself. When people be like, oh, I want to make $32 million. Okay. To be honest, like after a while, that's not a lot in this economy.
No, it's not.
Especially 4 kids, $16 million. People are making that in a day, in an hour.
Yes. And we know a few of them. We know.
What are we talking about? So, I mean, don't attach it to a money. I think that, and I maybe attach it to a feeling.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people don't want to, we're not saying you need to be in a religion, but if you are a spiritual person, and you've got to tap into that inner voice, which is God. It is you, because
Yeah.
we are God. We are one.
Yes.
And you really have to allow that inner compass to guide you.
Yes.
Those are the things to start. And I think after you do those things, it's going to start leading you to different tools to really to learn and identify who you are. And I really believe in therapy. I think but I don't think you need to be in therapy that long. I think you need to get in there, identify what it is, accept it.
Yes.
And work towards being a better person.
Yes.
Being a world-class human being, And I think that's what I could tell women, because we become we're manifesting every single day. And I think the more you get very clear and have clarity on what you want and where you're going, the path starts to guide you there. You start walking on that path to get there.
It's the clarity.
It's a clarity thing. And a lot of people don't have clarity.
No, they don't. They have, they're very confused, and they don't know. And then they manifest whatever we manifest whatever our primary focus and thoughts are. So they will repeat to themselves how things are going the way they don't want them to go. So absolutely, you have to know what you want that is not what you have, and then go from there. Thank you so much.
And one more thing.
Tell me.
Failure is good. Fail fast.
Yes.
Fail fast.
Yes.
fail so fast and use that data. I After a while, I wasn't using the data. I use the data now. I'm like, this is looking like the last situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, use the
And
data.
don't make failure mean anything about you or your worth or your level of intelligence or capacity, because it doesn't mean anything. It just use the data, like you said, and do it again. It's
Yeah.
about getting right back up. Thank you so much. Is there anything else? Any last words you want to say?
Keep going.
Mm,
Don't give up. Keep going. Because it's like, I think a lot of people who do give up, they are probably about to have that next level breakthrough.
yes.
Like, just keep going. There's somebody out there that's wanting to help you, and I'm a true testimony of that. So many times I'm like, I don't think I was ever going to give up, but I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do that. And right when I say that, and I'm just like, God, please help me. And then I just stop, and then the person shows up, and somebody texts me and be like, hey, you need to talk to this person.
Wow.
And I'm such a good listener. I'll get on the phone with them, and they'll be like, you need to do this, this, this. And I'm like, and I'm going to do it.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow. I love that about you. I really do. Because you're very, very highly intelligent, but you maintain this humbleness and this childlike mind to be like, okay. And then you also know when it's not your thing, you'll say, no, that's not for me. So you have the intuition to say no, but you
Mm-hmm.
also have this open mind of like, oh yeah, that sounds like that's gonna work. I'm going to do it. I love that about you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you so much. Thank you
I
for,
love you too, Demicey. Thank you for having me.
oh
This
my
is
God.
like, I don't get to have these type of talks that much, and I think that a lot of times I have a lot more people trying to figure me out and how have got to where I've gotten. And I'm like, it's God, guys. I don't know what to tell you guys. God and these tools and
Yes,
the right people and friends
your
like you and
determination. I
people
know.
that believe in me, and that's how I've gotten here. So yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, thank you guys.